What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the Dylan Talks Tone, Just Gonna Say It podcast. Welcome to hanging out. It's weird that there's no comments here. I don't know why that's not happening. Did somebody comment yet? I'd be curious to know if this is giving me trouble. Thanks for hanging out on this here Tuesday. It's a little bit early today. As I'm trying to find this in the feed, I'll tell you what's going on. The reason we are early today is because I am actually... Okay, cool. So it's working. As you may or may not be aware, we have been without power since last week when this hurricane came through. Funny story. This morning, I went and spent $1,000 on a generator because I'm like, we can't live without this anymore. And they actually had some, and I found some fuel, and everything was cool. Got that back to the house about noon, and the power came on at 1:30. Murphy's Law. But it's the best money I ever spent because I'd rather have power, right? So, however, we don't have internet yet, so we're using Elonernet from the van. So we park it up real close to the house so Leslie can... She's sitting in the garage with the air conditioner on so she can work. And I'm in the van doing a live stream, and this is how we're doing it. Of course, these are all ad-free live streams. If you want to support the channel, you can do a couple of things. You can use a super chat to ask a question during the live stream. And you can also buy some pickups. That's the number one way you can support what we've got going on right now, because it has been a tough week. So we are back in business, though. Everything seems cool. So that's pretty awesome. So the reason we moved the live stream up in time this week is because there are some folks around us who need some help before dark. And so we're going to take now that we have power, we're going to take the van and some of our batteries and solar chargers and some of our stuff. We've got some elderly folks that we know of and stuff that need some assistance. So we're going to go charge their devices, help them out and stuff. We're going to do that. Since we have power, we can then help others out. So we're going to do that. We're going to try to get that done before dark tonight. So I figured we're going to move this up an hour. So let's get into this whole thing. Why do we at Dylan Talks Tone not review cheap guitars? What's going to be this is going to be a great conversation. It's going to be very educational for a lot of folks. I think it's going to not go where you think it's going to go. I'm not going to sit here and bash on cheap guitars because that's not what we do. And that's not necessary, right? Very inexpensive guitars can be very good. We're all aware of that. We don't need to argue about that. That's something that's very important. They have a place in the market. That's what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about, a lot of folks really don't understand how companies work. They don't understand how marketing works. They don't understand how guitar sales work. They don't understand how this stuff works. And they look at themselves. I'm a guitar player. This is what I want. Therefore, this is how it should be done. Sorry, it ain't you. Okay? So we gotta get over that. So what we're going to do is we're going to dive a little bit into brand structure. Every brand has a structure, right? So if you think about any kind of brand, okay, they're going to have an entry-level product. They're going to have a mid-tier product that's going to kind of cross over between entry-level and premium or pro, depending on if you're Apple or not. And then you're going to have a premium or a flagship or a pro product, right? Typically, now, a lot of times you can really kind of dive into that, and it's very nuanced. Fender is a great example of this. They've got a lot of different things going on. But principally, most guitar brands fall into this category where they've got an entry-level item, they've got a mid-tier crossover item, and they've got a premium or pro product. Now, this is very intentional by these brands, okay? This is not by accident, and this is not just to to get sales. This is not a money grab. This is everything that they do is very intentional. The goal is to make money. They're a company. They need to make money. Everybody needs to make money. So, when you look at an entry-level product, let's talk about these three categories. When you look at an entry-level product, really all we care about with an entry-level product of any type is core functionality. Okay? So when you go and buy a base model Nissan, it has an engine, it has tires, it has a transmission, it has seats, it has windows, right? These days it's got to have some safety stuff, but it's very basic, right? Let's use Volkswagen because I'm a Volkswagen guy. So if you go and buy, my daughter just bought a Volkswagen Taos. Okay, you sit in that car. It's a very nice car. It is a very nice car, but it's a budget car. It's like $23,000. Okay, and it's got pretty firm seats, very basic speedometer or tachometer. Like it's very very basic. And it's got some features that they all have to have because of regulation, but it's just a car. Okay. And then you can get into something like a Volkswagen Arteon or an Audi A3, something like that, right? Very nice car, mid-tier. So above just basic functionality, now we've got some, features, and we've got some stuff that kind of make a continuity of the brand, but it still maintains a bit of a price point so that we don't get too out of hand for those that can't afford a premium product. Then we have a premium product, like this Audi SQ5 or a Porsche or whatever. Pull all the stops, all the bells and whistles, everything, right? That is the premium product, and that's what it's for. So why do they do this? On the entry-level side of things, it's really an attraction to the brand. It's a low-priced, basic functionality attraction to the brand. And when we say entry level, what we're talking about here is the target market of an entry level product is entry level. It is your first guitar, your first car, your first camera. You want to get into the hobby, but you don't know if you want to invest a lot. You are a beginner. This is your first foray into said hobby. So your Squire, your lower end Epiphones, even like an Epiphone Les Paul, for example, at $899. That is their kind of. Now they do have those really cheap ones, but we're talking about this is entry into the brand. PRS Silver Sky less so or PRS SE products less so because they're a little bit more expensive. But still, they are the entry into the hobby, an entry into the brand. The idea is to attract folks to the brand, okay? So it's not about making the best guitar for the money. That's not what it's about. It's about whatever they have to do to include whatever features they have to include to attract people to the brand. Okay? This is not I'm trying to make a guitar just as good as something else. This is not that. You do that. The companies don't do that. They're worried about attracting people to their brand at a product at a price that they can afford with the features that are necessary to make this happen. Okay? So the mid-level will have a lot of value-added features. There won't be a lot of expensive features, but there'll be a lot of value added. It'll make the guitar feel more premium, but it won't be in a way that adds a lot of cost to it. And a lot of times this is done by country of manufacture. There's a lot of noise on the internet about US made versus some other. That's not what it's about. What it's about is where the guitar is made controls how much the guitar costs to a big extent. So it doesn't matter what country it's made in. Every brand is going to say, well, you know what? I'm going to have my premium products made in some premium products are going to be made in Germany. Volkswagen does this. Premium products are going to be made in Germany. I'm going to have some products made in Brazil. I'm going to have some products made in Mexico to control costs at the various levels. Okay? So it's not just about China. It's not just about not in the United States. It's about wherever that brand wants to focus their efforts to make sure that that tier of guitar, beginner, mid, or premium, is done to the standard and for the cost that they want it to be done. So it's not about where it's made. It's where the company chooses to make it to control that cost. That's really what it's about. And so, but at the same time, we're still trying to hit a price point, right? We're still trying to hit a price point. That's the thing. We want it to be a little bit more premium. We want it to be a little bit more feature rich. We want it to have some value added situation, but we want it to also still hit a price point that does not exclude a lot of buyers. Okay, that's the thing. Then we start talking about premium products. Premium products are just what they are. They're feature rich. They have history. They have legacy. They have quality of parts. They have everything that you would want and expect from that brand, right? Any brand, doesn't matter. In the guitar world, obviously, it would be Gibson, it'd be Fender, it'd be PRS, it would be ESP's higher stuff, it would be Ibanez's higher stuff, it would be, anybody's got these sort of tiers to them. My Breedlove, they make some in Oregon, they make some in Korea, they make some in China, right? So based on all of that stuff. Cost of manufacture, obviously it's going to bring a higher price depending on where it's done. Again, this doesn't have to be made in the United States. Premium products are made in Canada. Premium products are made in Germany. Premium products are made in China. Premium products are made in Japan, right? Premium products are made in Indonesia. It doesn't matter where it's made. It's how it is structured in the company structure, how it's in the brand structure, and according to where they want their prices and costs of manufacture to be. So, if you've noticed here, we've not talked anything about quality, okay? We've not talked about this guitar is just as good as that one. We've not talked about perceived value, except that your perception of value has nothing to do with the guitar. People want to say that this guitar is worth this much because it has this feature. No. The brand structures where they want it to be. Whether you think they're right or not has nothing to do with reality. If you perceive that a guitar is not worth it, then you are not that guitar's target market. And this is a very hard thing for guitar players to have the humility to recognize. Just because you think Gibsons are too expensive doesn't mean they're too expensive. What it means is you are an Epiphone guy. You might be a Harley Benton guy. I don't know. Depends where you fall in this. So what's important to you? Core functionality? You get a Harley Benton. Do you want some value added? You get an Epiphone. Do you want a premium product? You get a Gibson Les Paul. You and your perception of the product has nothing to do with the brand. That's not the brand's fault. Me, as a company who creates a product, I make the product I want to make. And then I find the customers to buy it. That's how it works. If you're not that customer, that's okay with me. I'm totally fine with that. And so is Gibson, so is Epiphone, so is Gibson, so is Fender, so is PRS. I'm leaving Epiphone and stuff underneath the umbrella of those brands because that's how that kind of works. Your perception of a product then places you in that tier, whether you are a entry-level guy, whether you are a mid-tier guy, or whether you are a premium product guy. Now, the other thing we've not talked about is this does not mean anything to do with ability. This is not a professional guitar player versus a beginner guitar player. This is a person who thinks he wants a thing. Do you want a premium? I want premium stuff. I don't want beginner stuff. I don't care about it. And the reason is because, well, we'll get into that later. So why do brands go to all this trouble? It's really important. They want accessibility to their products to all audiences. They want the person who does not have the budget. Let me just say this. It's not about budget. Okay? Budget's an interesting word. Okay? I want a budget guitar. Well, I have a different budget than you, and you have a different budget than me. Yours might be more than mine on certain things, right? I hate spending money on underwear, but you have to. Um, but I'm not going to cheap out on toilet paper or guitars. You know what I'm saying? Like certain things, you budgets can be different. It's not about what a person can afford. It's about what they're willing to spend for a product. That's what budget is. It has nothing to do with cheap versus expensive. It has to do with the willingness of a person to come up off his dollar to buy a thing. Okay? That could either be, you know, your budget can change based on the circumstance. I just went and bought a generator today and I spent $25 for a freaking plastic gas can that I probably should have spent $15 for before a hurricane. But my budget had to change based on the circumstances. It was what it was. You just had to deal with it. Inflation, the market, all those things happen without you. You have very little to do with any of that stuff. So for somebody to say, guitars are getting too expensive, who cares? Doesn't matter. Life is life. This is how it works. So the brands are going to try to find a product that is accessible to all budgets and needs. So here's the thing. A lot of guitar players perceive that they have needs that they don't have. Typically, that's usually how it works. And this is where you kind of have to parse things out, right? Are you a guitar player? Are you a collector? Are you a tinkerer? Like what kind of guitar player are you? Because your needs will also determine where you are in these three categories. For the purposes of this video and this conversation, I kind of broke them into basically two. Because when we're talking about budget instruments and why I don't review cheap guitars, to me there's two reasons in this context. Now, just in this context, of course, there's many other ways to do this sort of stuff. But in this context, because of the way people think, it would be like, well, I can afford good guitars, but I like to buy cheap guitars because I like to tinker with them. I like to put pickups in them. I like to do all this kind of stuff. I agree. It's fun. But brands don't think of that. Brands do not produce products that are meant to be modded or need work from the beginning. I had a Harley Benton, and it was a great guitar. After I did all the frets and changed the pickups and fixed all the problems and blah, 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 blah on a guitar you probably should have returned. But after you did it, it was all great. That's not how guitar companies work. They are not doing that. Fender's not doing that on purpose. Now, there are a few exceptions to this. When Ford came out with the Bronco, they came out with a whole accessory line. But what they were doing was they're like, we're going to make this thing a moddable thing on purpose. We know you're going to mod it, but we're also going to make it its own ecosystem, right? Where we can capture some of those dollars back. Proprietary stuff, various things like that. Apple does a great job of this as well. They create an ecosystem around it so that when you want to do these various things, you have all this stuff, and it keeps you in the ecosystem. It keeps you in the family. That is one thing they do, but they don't make a guitar that sucks so that you can mod it on purpose, right? They don't do that. Where it really comes down to for me is the guitar recommendable? When I'm thinking about a brand new guitar that is on the internet, that just came out, can I recommend it? Is it something that I will tell my beginner friend to buy? Is it something that is going to keep them playing guitar? Is it something that they are going to enjoy? Is it something that they can play with no issues? That they can just enjoy for enjoyment's sake? So those of you that follow the channel for a long time, I've bought probably, I don't know, I probably own 50, 60 cars. Okay. And I would recommend about a third of them to you because I'm a gearhead, right? Take, for example, I've had 3 Land Rover Discoveries heavily modded for overlanding. I've had a couple of Range Rovers. I've had a bunch of stuff like that. So let's take Land Rover, for example. I absolutely love it. Love that thing. I love it. I get a lot of enjoyment out of owning one. Would I recommend one to one of my friends? Absolutely not. Okay? So in the review side of life, I cannot recommend certain things. Certain things I can recommend. So that puts me in a spot to say, can I recommend a particular product? Can I recommend a product that needs a bunch of modifications to be good? No, I can't. Can I recommend a guitar that does not live up to the brand ethos? No. This brings up another interesting point. Why do brands do what they do in all of this structure? They do it for a couple of reasons. One, accessibility. We talked about that. Creating brand loyalty from a beginner guitar player, an entry into the hobby all the way to the pro. So you're a Fender guy, you're a Gibson guy, you're a PRS guy, right? Like a lot of us jump around, but there are folks who are, it's Fender, PRS, Gibson, Chevy, Ford, Toyota. You know what I mean? Like it's the same thing. Mac, PC, Android, Apple. You know what I mean? Like it's that. We are creatures of that. So that happens. The other thing is market penetration. So, and this is an important one. Every guitar company wants to have a piece of the beginner market, the mid-tier crossover market, as well as the premium market. They want to have pieces of all of those. They want to have entries into all of those. It broadens their profit. Because of the way things work, they don't actually make as much money off of cheap guitars. So they're kind of a loss leader in order to get people into the brand and then want them to buy more expensive guitars later. For those of you that we did a podcast on this recently that talked about that. Some of your $300-$400 guitars, they're only making $100 of the things. Like, there's just not that much money in it. So, that's a thing. So the goal of a reputable guitar brand like Fender, Gibson, PRS, Ibanez, brands like that, are to have market share in all segments of the market, to create brand loyalty, and to continue the legacy of their brand. They've been around for almost 100 years. Some of them have been around for 100 years in one form or another, and they're trying to continue that. That's what they're trying to do. They don't want to go out of business. They want to continue to be successful, and that's how they do it. So here's where the problem comes in for me with cheap guitars. What is the goal of a Chinese, we're going to use Chinese because it's where they all come, $200 copy of a copy of a copy guitar. Okay? Harley Benton, Firefly, all that crap. What is the goal of that brand? They have no premium product. They have no mid-tier product. Most of their stuff, they have a $500. Okay. But the bottom line is, they have a bunch of entry-level product. That's what it is. So what is their goal? Their goal is obviously to sell guitars, right? But how do they do it? This is where it gets interesting. The way they do it is they try to eat into existing markets. And you could say, well, any new guitar brand, Texas Toast Guitars, is going to do that. Well, the way Texas Toast Guitars is doing it is they're doing it the same way. An entry guitar, a mid-tier guitar, a high-end guitar, proper marketing, all the stuff. They're doing it right. The goal of these cheap guitars is to just eat away at market share. And they're also, and I believe that this is more insidious, they're devaluing other brands. Okay? They eat into this market share by devaluing other brands. And they do it with beginners who don't know better. And they also do it with the Jaga guys. Okay? Cheap people and beginners. And for those of you that are new to the channel, JAGA stands for just as good as. Okay? So that's their target market. They're trying to get the just as good as guys to not buy more premium brands. And it works. That's why you have all these forums and groups full of people saying Harley Benton's are just as good as whatever, and I can make this guitar just as good as if I spend a bunch of money on all these parts and I do all this shit to it. Okay? And they also, by introducing unnecessarily a bunch of beginner instruments into the market, they just flood the market with these things for a hope of a piece of it. I don't want to get into the politics of this too much, but the way they do it isn't cool. How they get their materials, how their manufacturing processes, all those things, that's a whole separate podcast. But the way they do it is not cool. And the way their goal basically is to devalue the main brands to do this isn't cool either. I just don't believe in it. I don't believe in something. I just don't believe in supporting that. So when it comes to reviewing that stuff, it comes down to the marketing strategy of each of these companies. The larger brands are still going to use artists. They're going to use Slash. They're going to use John Mayer. They're going to use, right? They're going to do that because it's still effective. It still works. If you still say X person plays this guitar, people will buy it. Hero worship is a thing. It's going to always be a thing. It's human nature. It's what we do. We respect people that are better than us most of the time, unless you're a moron who he's the most overrated guitar ever, like that guy. But most people respect people that are better than them at something, and so therefore they will make a choice based on that. This stays true to the legacy of the brand. It just builds and builds and builds and builds. In fact, they're doing it with new artists. Fender and Gibson are doing it with new artists that a lot of the mullet heads have never heard of, which is totally fine, right? Like, we're past Led Zeppelin, okay? So we're this is 2024. We got people like Her. We got people like Corey Wong. We got people, all kinds of people, okay, who are new artists that don't have mullets. Like, we're into 2024. So it's working. It's still working. Even if you don't know who these people are, doesn't mean other people don't and are not buying guitars based on these sorts of decisions. Really good brands are going to do strategic ad buying on social media. They're going to do strategic marketing and YouTube reviews. Okay, obviously, when you see an embargo date lift on a new guitar, and every friggin' guitar brand YouTuber, except for me, has a brand to review, that's what that is, right? And some of you may not like that, but it's really effective. It works really, 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 really well. But I know for sure, I know because I've worked with them, that the big brands are a lot more selective than you think about who gets to market their products. The reason I don't get to market very many products is because I have a pickup company. A lot of folks who build guitars don't like me to review their guitars because I am a pickup builder. That's why I don't get a lot of them. Okay, and I have no hard feelings about that. I know that's why. It's no problem. Absolutely no problem with me. I don't feel bad about it. That's not how all these cheap Chinese brands work. These cheap Chinese brands work this way. Somebody named Francesca, whose name isn't actually Francesca, because nobody's name is Francesca in 2024, or Olivia, will send you an email and say, I really like your YouTube channel. Your YouTube channel is nice. I have guitar. I'm not making fun of people's voice or anything, but literally this is how it happens. I want to send you guitar for a review. Um, you go to their website, you pick one, and they send it to you. Usually, you have to get a couple of them to get one that's totally playable. If they send you a bad one, sometimes you just throw it away. They don't even want it back. It is literally a shotgun approach to marketing. And then they'll say you get affiliate dollars on the back end for every guitar that you review. PRS and Gibson do not do this. I do not have affiliate, and there is no affiliate program with Gibson, for example. I've asked about it many times. I would really like one. But Gibson does not have one. When I review a guitar with Gibson, for example, they loan it to me with the option of buying sometimes at a discounted price. Like sometimes I might get, 20% off. Sometimes they just want it back. There is no financial benefit for me to review a guitar from Gibson. I will do it every time. I absolutely love it. I think it's great. I do not get paid. They allow me the guitar. I send it back to them when I'm done. I don't get paid. PRS, I don't get paid. They send me a guitar. I review it. I have to send it back. Fender, I have an affiliate thing with, but they never send me any guitars. And it's like 4% or something. It's like nothing. I think in 10 years I've made, I bet $200 off of Fender. Okay, so we're not talking big money here. Now, if I wanted to start reviewing Firefly and ERT, I'll tell you right now, if I started reviewing Firefly, ERT, Harley Benton, if I brought those three brands in, I'd make $1,000 a month next month. Because that's how their affiliate programs work. So, when you see big guitar players and big YouTube channels that I will not name pushing these brands, it's because they're getting really good affiliate dollars from them. I can't do that. I don't believe it's honest. And I'm not saying they're dishonest. They need to make money. They're just choosing to make content that I'm not choosing to make. I'm not throwing any shade on any YouTube channel that does what I'm not doing. Let them do it. They've figured out a way to do it and stay true to themselves, which is totally fine. And I've talked to some of these guys about it in person, and I do not think less of them for doing it. I cannot personally, that is a personal decision on my part, cannot do that. It's something I feel differently about, and I do not throw shade on them for doing it at all. Some of these people are my friends, and I feel no less cool about them at all. One of the biggest reasons, though, is that the expectation of a person who watches one of those videos is expecting you to go Jaga on that thing. They're expecting you to say, this guitar is just as good as this other guitar, when it is not. When it was never marketed as such, when it was not manufactured as such, and when it was not sold as such. However, everyone in the comment section, for the most part, will lean into, but it's just as good as this other guitar. And the difference between this guitar and that guitar is not $900. Well, yeah, it is actually. But you're not objective enough to look at it like that. Therefore, I don't want to have this conversation. Therefore, I don't want to make this video. Therefore, I don't want my comment section to look like that. Therefore, I don't make the video. The other thing about this is that for me personally, it attracts the wrong viewer. I am very proud of the fact that over the last 11 years, you and I, who have been doing this together for a long, I consider you part of this, have been doing this together a long time. And I am very proud of the fact that everybody that watches this channel are here because they want to be smarter. We want to learn stuff. All of us. Me, you, everybody. We're constantly in a state of learning. We're constantly in a state of, I'd like to better understand how this works. I'd like to be a better educated consumer. I would like to be a better educated buyer of whatever. I'd like to know how to do upgrades. I'd like to know how to do all those things. I like the fact that most of the folks who watch our channel are actually aspiring guitar players, right? They're not just trying to find the cheapest thing for the buck. They're trying to be aspiring guitar players. I see many, many folks. I had an Epiphone. I saved up, got a Gibson. I had a Squire. I saved up and got a Fender. In between, they had their Squire. They saved up and got some cool pickups from Dylan Talks Tone. We're out. We all became friends. And we've created a community of folks that we are aspiring to be better. Personally, professionally, musically, knowledgeable about what we're doing, all those things. And I find that very, very positive. And I think that's very cool. Everybody in this audience and this community seems to be looking ahead. They seem to be like wanting to go on this journey of learning things. And I know this sounds really idealistic, but when you look at me as a brand who I'm building a product every day and selling it, I have to think about who my customer is, who I want my customer to be, who I want my viewer to be, and who I want to encourage to do more, right? I don't want the cheap guy who's looking for the cheapest thing. If you tell me, do you make anything cheaper than what you make? And I say, no. We make a premium product. We make a handmade product in Augusta, Georgia. Right there. And we do it all. And we make it for you. I sign every pickup with my name personally. I write a note to every customer that goes out the door. For the most part, unless I forget, but 99% of the time I do. Remember. If you've ordered lately, you'll see. Thanks, Bob. I really appreciate your order. I write you. I mean, this is what you get. But this is the kind of customer and the kind of value that I care about. I don't care about a guy who's trying to get the cheapest thing for the cheapest thing. I don't believe in the business model of those companies. I believe that it promotes the opposite of what we're trying to do here as a community and what I'm trying to do as a business. I think it promotes the opposite. I think it undermines the legacy brands who have worked hard for 100 years to get where they are. And I respect them. Those legacy brands just can't lean back on what they... Yes, they can. That's what they freaking do. That's what legacy brands do. If you've been around for 100 years, you trust that. You lean on that, and you keep working on it. You don't just go stealing crap from people and selling guitars for $200. It's just not cool. I just don't believe in it. Just don't believe in it. I'm just really happy that there are thousands of you who want to invest in yourself, invest in your hobby, invest in your enjoyment of guitar. That's what I care about. And I can't take an Ert or Harley Benton or a Firefly and in good faith and sleep good at night say to you, you should go buy one of those. I also can't take my brand on the YouTube side and make a video and say every one of these guitars is crap every time, because nobody will trust that. Everybody will think, oh, you're just a snob. And maybe I am. I mean, I like nice stuff, okay? I don't like cheap stuff. I like nice stuff. I do. But I don't always recommend what I have to others. That's the important thing. What I have for me, and what I enjoy personally for me, I have to temper with what I would actually recommend to another person. I would recommend to you a classic vibe Telly. I would buy me a custom shop Telly. It doesn't make that guitar worse, but I'm a target market of a certain guitar, and you're a target market of a certain guitar after you and I have had a discussion, and maybe you are a classic vibe guy. I would tell you to get that. Not because the guitar is worse or better, not because anything. We have not talked about the guitars themselves at all. This is about where we fit as humans in this, and where I can feel like good about encouraging others to better themselves in this hobby. And I think it's really important. And I know that sounds idealistic. I know there's a bunch of people that have probably already clicked off of this because they don't want to hear this crap. They just want to hear somebody talk about, like, this guitar is just as good as this other one. And I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to encourage it. Am I going to make fun of it? Absolutely. If you don't like the fact that I make fun of Harley Benton's, that's okay. Totally fine. Totally fine. I don't agree with what they do. I don't like anything about them. I don't like anything about that business model at all whatsoever. Don't like it at all. Won't support it. Don't care about it. If you want to, that's totally fine. And I'm not going to think bad of you. If you show up at my house, you show up at a open mic night, and you have a Harley Benton, come on, man. Let's play. I do not care. I personally will not support it. Now, people are going to be like, yeah, but what about all those pickups that you could sell to those people to upgrade that stuff? This is where we put this into two separate categories. You've got the category of things that I would personally recommend, and then the category of folks that get the enjoyment out of the guitar different ways. If you're an upgradey guy who wants to do all that work and learn how to do fretwork and all that kind of stuff, and know that you're getting a cheap guitar and you're having fun upgrading it, by all means do it, because I think it's a skill that everyone should learn. And if that gives you an ability to do that, then you should do that. And if you want to put my pickups in it, I absolutely support it, or somebody else's. I don't even care. It doesn't even have to be mine. I just want you to learn. That's all I care. I just won't do it myself. But I totally support you doing it. And that's, I think, what's really, really, really important. I think it's a really important thing to think about. No hate on anybody who does it different than me. No hate on anybody who plays a different guitar than me. No hate on anybody who likes a different guitar than me. Not at all. If 10 people show up in 10 different price categories and we all want to jam, we're all going to jam. I don't care. And going back to needs of target market, there's going to be a day that I'm going to buy a classic vibe for something. Can't speak. There's going to be a day that I'm going to buy a classic vibe for a purpose, because I'm the target market that day, because I'm going to mod it and have fun and share it in a video with y'all. And then there's going to be another day where I'm going to buy a custom shop something, because that's for me. And that's how I get my enjoyment out of the hobby. You know? And that's the way I would encourage you all. Thank you for the super chat. There we go. Support ad-free. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Let's get some comments. Let's go through here really quick and see if there's any comments in here. So happy that you asked for some thoughts on the subject. Yeah, I did that on my channel. Please explain exactly what is being stolen, design, shape, or whatever. How is that different than you making pickups based 95% on someone else's designs? Okay, so that's an interesting question. We have a whole we've done this video before, and we talked about this a lot. So there's a couple of different things here. One is, I don't necessarily think, let's take the Harley Benton single cut for example. It's not stealing the body shape, because they did change it. It looks like a retarded Les Paul. Apologize. It's probably improper, but that's what I think. So that's not stolen. It's not about the stolen shape. It's about the intent of the marketing and the intent. Again, I don't want to get political here, but Chinese companies are intentionally undermining other markets. That's all I want to dive into that, because I don't want to get all political in the comments. But there are certain countries that are intentionally undermining other markets. Ad-free is for me. Thank you. Thanks, Dasherly Dave. Oh, and I got a package from you today. We'll talk about that on Thursday. So when we start talking about pickup design, now pickup design is an interesting one, because we have to go based on a format. Now, if I build it, I could build a pickup that's shaped like a Crazy 8. I could do that, but you wouldn't put it in your guitar because you have to cut it up. Okay, you can buy Sylvania headlights, you can buy Philips headlights, you can buy GE, you can buy How many different light bulb brands are there? They all got to fit in the same hole. They all got to do the same job, but they all do something a little different, right? You can get those super white headlights. You can get the super blue headlights. You can get the yellowy headlights. You can get the whatever headlights, right? This one's brighter. That one lasts longer, whatever. They all do something a little different, but they all got to fit in the same hole. So we're not, and I'll tell you right now, we have not one pickup in our line that exactly copies anything. I have made sure of that. At least at the time of me manufacturing those pickups. The Just As Good As crowd deserve a t-shirt. You're right. I agree. You want to promote sustainability, not just fast fashion and disposable products. That's another thing. That's a good thing. It's Victoria G. And I don't mean this in the sustainability as far as like the sustainable hippie, paper straws crap. Okay, I don't mean that. Sustainability in the respect that 8 Harley Bentons or 1 good Epiphone. What are you even doing? It's a waste of time. Cheap guitars that are good, and there's many, set up properly, sound just as good. No, they don't. If you play all day like I do, I'd put my cheapest Chibson I've got up against anything you have. Bring it. Email me, address, front yard, bring it. That's BS. It's 100% BS. Dylan, hope you are well. What is the difference with the slant thingy to hang guitars and the individual hangers? I don't know exactly what you're talking about. No, anybody that wants to say that crap, bring it. Come on, man. I've had a bunch of people tell me, I want to send you... I don't believe in cheap... I believe cheap pickups are just as good as good pickups. Buy them, put them in the mailbox. We'll do a blind shootout. I'll make a video. I don't care. I'll do it. And I'll be objective with you. I understand what you're trying to do, so I'm not going to make you look bad on purpose. We would let the guitars speak for what they're going to... You say what if a person thinks of the value set by a company doesn't matter, but that can't be true if what you say about Harley Benton devaluing other brands is true. So, I see what you're saying, but you are my point in that is you are the person who sets yourself into the market. Okay? The brands don't say, we're going to try to find all of the Jaga guys and make them a guitar. Gibson, Fender, and PRS don't do that. They say, I'm going to build this guitar because I think it's going to sell and it's awesome. And then we're going to make a more affordable one so that we can make it more accessible. Gibson has a very good model of this. They'll do the custom shop thing that's unobtainium dollars for most people that sells out immediately every time, much to the chagrin of all the folks who think it's too expensive. Maybe they're just jealous. And then they'll do it in like a $3,200 / Les Paul zone. And those will sell just fine. And then they'll do it in an Epiphone. And those will sell like hotcakes. That'd be great. The thing about these other brands, though, is that they don't do that. They don't do that. They are going for the Jaga crowd, which is just not positive for the guitar community. It's just not. Let's see. They were talking about cutting their grass. People that buy cheap guitars own dozens of them and aren't happy. Sorry, not sorry. Amen, brother. I have expensive guitars and a cheap Squire I leave out, so I play more in case my dogs knock it over. So, again, this is not about money. This is not about the cost of a guitar. This is about your willingness to buy the guitar that you are the market shit, like that you are the target market of. I think a lot of folks, think they're Gibson people. This is what happens. They think they're Gibson people. They want to be Gibson people, but they can't afford them. So then they go around saying this guitar is just as good as that one because I'm really a Gibson guy, but so I'm going to make this one sound just like that. And that's just not the way to look at it. You are a Harley Benton guy. You are an Epiphone guy. That's totally fine. It's totally fine. Just understand the marketing of the company. Understand how it works. And that was really the goal of this. And to show how, to talk about how all these marketing strategies work and how I want to be a part of some of them, but I don't want to be a part of others. For what I feel, at least for me, are really valid reasons. Whether you think they're valid or not, I don't really care. I don't. Because I'm not you, you're not me, and I have to sleep at night. I've been in business for myself since I was 17 years old. This is my 9th business with my name on it. I've built them up and I've sold them. And I've built them up and I've sold them. And I'm keeping this one because it's got my name on it. And it's something I'm really proud of. And I've never had a business fail that I didn't want to fail. I had one that I've never had a business fail. And the reason is because I stuck to what I knew was right. I set aside everything else that wasn't. And I put as the goal something I learned a long time ago. And I've talked about this before, and you may have never heard this, but I'll just tell you real quick. Any business, the most successful businesses I've ever run have had one thing in common. Well, two things. One, I liked it. Okay? And two, the goal of the business was to make sure that somebody was enjoying and got value out of something. And what I mean by that is, when I was in the dirt bike business, and in this business too, I feel that I know that many folks, not everybody, but most people, have a limited amount of time every week to spend on their hobby. They have a limited amount of money to spend on their hobby. And so I want to make sure that the products that I make and the content that I make contribute the best to that. So that if you are on a cat team for State Farm right now, hating your life because you're working 20 hours a day, thank you very much for coming to my house and writing an estimate on my fence. I can't wait till you get here. But you're hating life at 2 o'clock on a Wednesday, and you go out to the truck to have lunch, and you watch one of my videos, and you get lost in the guitars for a little bit, and you make a decision to buy a pedal or not buy a pedal or try a set of strings because you got an extra $20 this week that you can spend on something. And you go home and you made a good decision on that and you enjoyed your hobby because of that, then I did my job. Or you bought a set of pickups from us. Or whatever. Doesn't matter. Or you used a super chat on Thursday night and you asked a question and got a question that you feel that you learned something and you were able to take that to your hobby. If I can do those things, then I will never starve. And I will always have fun doing what I'm doing. And if I was to review cheap guitars, that would change. But I'm not going to do it. That's it. You guys, this is fun. Thanks for hanging out with me. For those of you that don't know, we got a hurricane, came through, blew everything over, wrecked my fence, blew over my friggin' amazing tree. Sucks. I got this awesome Cleveland pear tree. It's like 50 feet high. I don't know how high it is. Probably 40, 50 feet high. Now it's in a bunch of pieces in the front yard. It sucks. That was like the biggest bummer. I lost that tree. I'm kind of glad the fence blew down because it was getting kind of rickety anyway. So we got everything under control. The electricity came back on today after I bought the generator. Everybody's safe. So we're going to go help some people out and try to pass along the power and the generator and all that stuff to some families around here that could use it more than us now. So we're going to go try to help out the community a little bit tonight before it gets dark. Thanks, everybody, for hanging out. This has been really fun. I hope that you identify with this a little bit. I know that there's going to be some folks that disagree and never watch a video again, but I really do hope that some of you are endeared to what we do and why we do it and why we do it the way we do it. Welcome to the family. Thanks for hanging out. We'll see you later.